Bonjour classe, bienvenue. Aujourd'hui, c'est le 29 avril 2020. Today is April 29th, 2020. Greetings, Earthlings. Today we are talking about contractions with de, or en français, les contractions avec de. So it's kind of a bit of a review, but also something new. You have already learned contractions with a, so you've already learned contractions with a. So we're going to talk a little bit about those before we get going with the contractions with de, just so we have a basis to go off of before we add on our new topic. So when we're talking about contractions with a, the first thing that we needed was a. And then we needed our second part, which was the definite articles. If you forgot what definite articles are, they mean the, and it's le, la, les, and l'apostrophe. So in order to form our contraction with a, we needed these two things. So a plus le became what? When we combined them together, what did they become? They became o. So a plus le became o. And then a plus la became a la. It stayed the same. A plus les became O, A-U-X. And A plus l'apostrophe stayed the same. So it's just A, l'apostrophe. So out of those four, there were only two that changed, two that you had to remember. And the contractions with A, if you forgot, mean to the or at the, because A means to or at. So this means to the or at the. Right? So, le was the masculine version, if you remember. La was the feminine. Les was for plural, masculine or feminine. And l'apostrophe went with things that started with a vowel, like A, E, I, O, U, or an H in French, because the H is silent. So if you needed a quick review on contractions with a, that was your quick review. If you needed some help with the definite articles again, the le, la, les, l'apostrophe, hopefully that helped a little bit. Knowing our basis for contractions with a, we're going to jump right into the contractions with de. So I told you it was a little bit of a review, but also a little bit different. So the contractions with de kind of have the same basis as the contractions with a, except there's only one difference. That being de. Instead of a, we need de. So we have de, but we still need our definite articles. So we're going to put le, la, les, and l'apostrophe again, because we still need a definite article. So with our contractions with de, let's go through and fill in what our new contractions are. Now, the contractions with de follow kind of the same pattern as the contractions with a, as far as two of them change and two of them don't. So looking at this real quick, which two do you think are going to change? I'll give you a second to make a guess. Okay, hopefully you've got your guess. So de plus le is going to change and become du. So that was one that changed. Now we have de plus la. Du plus la is going to stay the same. De la. Now we have de plus les. De plus les changes and becomes de. So just take off the L and add a D. And then de plus l'apostrophe is going to stay the same. De l'apostrophe. So we have two that change and two that don't change. Just like when we learned the contractions with a. The two that changed with the contractions with a are still the two that change in contractions with de. So knowing that, let's do a couple examples. You might be asking, well, Madame, okay, I know the changes, but how do I know which one to use? When do I know if it's masculine or if it's feminine or if it's singular or if it's plural? Let's talk about that. So when we used contractions with a, I told you that your contraction went based off of what you were talking about. So for example, if I gave you the word piscine, which is the word for pool, looking at that word, can you apply a rule and tell me if you think that that would be masculine or feminine? The rule that I told you about was that if it ended in an E, most of the time it's going to be feminine. Now, it doesn't work all the time, but most of the time it will work. So because it ends in an E, let's say that we were going to the pool. We're going to go to the pool. We don't ever want to leave the pool, so we're going to go to the pool. Are we going to use a or are we going to use de? Well, a we know means to the or at the, and de means of the or from the. Like of the pool or of the teacher from the pool. Like I'm coming from the pool of the teacher. So let's say that we're going to the pool at the teacher's house or at the country club. So to the pool at the country club. We already decided that piscine was feminine. So looking over here, which one am I going to use? Am I going to use le, la, le, or L apostrophe? Well, let's work from the bottom up. So does piscine start with a vowel? No, so it can't be L apostrophe. Are we talking about more than one pool? No, so it can't be lay. Does it look like it might be feminine? Apply the rule. Does it end in an E? Yeah, so it's probably feminine. It's probably a good guess. So it is feminine. So we're going to say a la piscine, to the pool. Now let's say that we were coming from the school. From the school. École is school. And we need of the or from the because we're coming from the school. So let's look down here with our from the categories. And we need to decide, one, if this is masculine or feminine. Two, if it's singular or plural. So looking at école, does it have an S or an X on the end? No. So it's going to be singular. So we can cross out lay. Now, does it look masculine or feminine? Well, it ends in an E, so it's probably feminine. So we can cross out le. But does it start with a vowel? Yes. So it has to be L apostrophe. So we're going to say de L apostrophe, de l'école, from the school. Now let's say that we have something that's coming from my sister. So it's coming from my sister. We're going to write sister is sir. Like, sir, yes, please. Sir. And we need to say it's coming from my sister. Or we could say this is the shirt of my sister. Either one. When we're saying of or from, we need the de part. We need the contraction with de. So first off, is sir masculine or feminine? Well, it's sister. So sister in English is feminine. Sister in French is feminine. So because it's feminine, we need the feminine form, which is de la. So we're going to write de la sœur, from the sister. Okay, let's do one more example. Let's say that this is the book of the teacher. So we're going to do a sentence. The book of the teacher. Okay, let's do piece by piece. First off, what is the book? The book is le livre, the book, le livre, le livre. Okay, of the, we need of the. So are we going to use a or are we going to use de? We're going to use de because we're talking about of the. So we have le livre. Now we have teacher. What is teacher in French? Yes, professeur. So we're going to write professeur. I'm write prof for abbreviation. Now, we're talking about a masculine teacher or a feminine teacher? Let's talk about Monsieur Jetan. So let's talk about Monsieur Jetan. So if this is the book of Mr. Jetan, is Mr. Jetan masculine or feminine? Or are we talking about more than one? Well, I only know one Mr. Jetan, so it's not plural. And it doesn't start with a vowel, so it can't be the L apostrophe. And Monsieur Jetan is a boy, so we need to use de plus le. So to get de plus le, we have to combine those two, and it ends up equaling du. So le livre du professeur Jetan. And the du agrees with professeur, just like À la agreed with piscine, and de l'apostrophe agreed with l'école. De la agreed with sir, etc., etc. Okay, so this lesson is on page 96 in your book if you want to look at it. Until then, a couple of reminders. Don't forget to read all of the directions in the PowerPoint and also make sure that you're doing the practice questions. On Friday, we have kindergarten reading time at 11 a.m. I'm hoping more people can come this time. We are reading Chapitre 2, Chapter 2 of Brandon Brown dit la vérité. Brandon Brown tells the truth. It's quite fun. It really only takes about half an hour. So if you can spare half an hour of your day to come see me, I'd really, really appreciate it. I miss seeing all of your faces, and it's just a nice way to kind of end my week. So I hope to see you all then. Until then, à vendredi.